Welcome to Morning Jim. I'm not going to say good morning today. You will have to make do with hello. After all, this is the 20th anniversary of a sad day in American history, isn't it? We have to remember it was a day which we remember as 9/11. And it shocked our nation to its core and made us first aware that hundreds of thousands of radicalized Islamists wanted nothing more than to kill us, masses of us. The past 2 weeks have shown that they have not given up hope for that. But we must wonder if we have lost our will to resist division and extinction. Poets have had something to say about this. I'm going to read some poetry today that I wrote, another poem by a Kansas poet about the persistence of death, and a final poem, oddly enough, by a Polish poet who was looking at pictures taken in New York at the time of the 9/11 attack. And I really thought this Polish poet got it better than most anybody else. Trigger warning. Some of the lines you may hear would not be considered PC on America's campuses today, I'm sorry to say. The first poem I'm going to read is from my book, Immortal Prairie. And the title of it is, And When the War is Done. There's an epigram on this poem. This world's no blot for us. To find its meaning is my meat and drink. Robert Browning. Fra Lippo Lippi. Ah, yes, old men must reminisce a necessity they can't requite, even with a soft, cool glass of white wine, remembrance and a cry. This war we fought with Islamists, hating themselves, blowing their friends to bits, just to get our foot or one of our strong fists. Was this prosthesis worth it, or the missing eye? These men are not idealists who lead us now. They're self-absorbed and weak. The Islamists give a small, deft tweak, and all they think is to appease, or any other way to please. And this is how the future books are written, how the wrists are torn and bitten. When anything is preferable to war, then war's again refought, and many die. It will not cease. If we think a war has ended badly, should we recall the dying gladly? Better to extol a victory than imagine that no war can ever be. We'll have remembrance and a cry. Well, let's remember that Islamic terrorism does not strike at us only. The poverty-stricken and isolated Christians in Darfur in Africa were nearly wiped out by similar terrorism years before 9/11. At the time, these attacks got a lot of attention in the press, but not much was done until our homeland was the victim. Now, here's another poem Again, it's from my book, Immortal Prairie, and it's called Darfur. True, it is in another country far away. And yes, the woman on the bed is twisted, dead. Her family mutilated in the storm of yesterday. From helicopter height, the smoke is red against the rising sun that stirs the shadow of the rocky kraal and carcasses of shoddy roofs nobody you know would want to live beneath. Landing here is only for the photo proofs, to catalog yet another day of quiet dying in a land bereft even of the victim's moans. An empty desert with no sounds of crying, no sputtering flames, no wounded groans. Devils on horseback came here bent to burn and kill, and they grow stronger wherever we stay still. Sometimes enough sadness can grip us within our own lives to create a cri de coeur. We don't necessarily have to go to foreign lands for this. And one of our Kansas poets, Ruth Maus, has written a poem called Preservative. And it's about a lot of things related to death and dying. She says, I have buried my dead in Topeka, the formaldehyde for my memories. Of itself, Topeka is a medium falling out of favor, but I still employ it to grasp at a painfully artful resemblance of what was once lovely. My friends Babs, Buster Kitten, Sylvia, Peaches, Jeff, King, Carambas, Clipper, Gunther, Weasel, Sister, Amber, Kitty Boots, Jose, Adolf, Bismarck, Georgie, Bubba, Black Mimi, Little Pooh, Allison, Harry, Lovey and Dovey, Thumper, and Flopsy. Tippy, Walter Pigeon, Jake, Velvet, all those relatives, mostly dry and already dusty themselves when they return to the dust, courtesy of time and Topeka, my father with his great faith, my brother injured and sad, and soon my mother, oblivious to all but the next dose of morphine. I mark time since she has stopped eating and drinking. The hospice nurse avoids my gaze and tells of a client who lived on for 38 days at this stage. How is this possible? Then I remember we all live on in some fashion. We are sheep, asserts the nursing home pastor, as in shepherd, as he begins to read the 23rd Psalm. But I, unwilling to be lumped with the simpletons, interrupt with my howl that some of us are more sheep-like than others. Classmates, neighbors, colleagues, the stranger at the bus stop, the shopper in the checkout line, the local TV personality, the ethically challenged politician. Here we have formed our, yes, flock in this place. Topeka has given me all of them and consumed them all back like tiny delicacies, briefly savored, or craw-sized chunks hard to digest. They muddle around now as ashes or dirt, air or bacteria or sunlight until they find their own equilibrium in the cosmos, unaware of the life support I provide in my remembrances, their occasional encore. To know this, to have steadfastly loved and tempered the concussions and truncations, I draw from a leaky reservoir of courage and welcome this day as I plan another funeral in Topeka. And then she has a little afterword down at the bottom of the page. It says, "No one pretended it was a fair fight." How ironic. Well, I looked for a variety of American poems about September 11th, and I'm sure I didn't see all of them, but I found one that was very touching, but it was not by an American poet. It had to be translated from Polish. And the title of this, and you will be able to see it in the images, is called Photograph from September 11th by Wislawa Szymborska, translated by Claire Kavanagh, who is an American poet. They jumped from the burning floors. 1, 2, a few more, higher, lower. The photograph halted them in life and now keeps them above the earth, toward the earth. Each is still complete, with a particular face and blood well hidden. There's enough time for hair to come loose, for keys and coins to fall from pockets. They're still within the air's reach, within the compass of places that have just now opened. I can do only 2 things for them: describe this flight and not add a lost line. I think that's a very touching and very true poem. Well, there you have it. Some unpleasant things cannot be left in the past. We must remember them and hope that we take from them some lasting lessons. Our current leaders are not learning a thing. Sadly, that doesn't always happen, and we must repeat our mistakes more than once sometimes to get things finally right. I hope to have you back a week from now. Let me hear from you from time to time. Goodbye for now. This is Jim Ransom, and this has been another chapter of Morning Jim.